We're here with PikeView baseball coach Josh Wyatt. Josh, a big day for your program. You got a guy moving on to the next level, Nate Riffe, who was just an outstanding pitcher for you. First, your thoughts on him going to Concord. You get to stay close to home. You were mentioning the Concord Brotherhood, which you're a part of. I mean, your thoughts on that?
Yeah, absolutely. He's going to somewhere that I'm familiar with, going to a school that is going to help him develop as a baseball player. You know, he was a COVID kid in the 9th grade, so he got 3 years of high school. He's going to benefit from a phenomenal strength and conditioning program at Concord University, and a coach that I know well that teaches that. Yeah, Coach Garrett. Coach Garrett teaches that family, that brotherhood, and you saw what Coach Garrett can do as far as taking over a team in the middle of the season last year and putting that program right back in the conference championship, and excited for Nathan to have a chance to do that as well.
I think if one thing defined him, it was his bulldog approach. He's a guy with 10 wins for you, and he said it. I mean, you have to wait 3 days, and he always went deep, went the distance, or pitched out. Just talk about that approach. I mean, this kid worked 80+ innings.
Yeah, you go back to game one. Game one to start the year off, we had him in a rotation as far as just getting 2-3 innings. Found ourselves in a ball game that we didn't think we were going to be in, and he bared down.
Who's that
against Richwood, and he pitched us through all 7 innings, and that kind of set the table for him for the whole year. He was somebody that as soon as his 3 days were up, his preparation in the off season prepared him for that, and we never had a complaint from him, never had an issue. He was ready to go, ready to put the team on his shoulders and take us to a victory.
We chatted with his dad before the signing this evening, and he said he always went either his 7 or he pitched out. I mean, have you seen a guy like that was able? And you've had some here. I mean, people probably forget, but you had a team in the state championship. You were in the state tournament 2 straight years, 15, 16, went to the state championship. Have you had a guy like that?
It's a different team, different time. With that 2015, 2016, those were kids that I had 5 pitchers on that team that could go the distance, and we rarely never got. I was kind of spoiled, never got into the bullpen and never had to worry about guys pitching out. Nathan was somebody that I don't know how many times it's been done, but he recorded all 3 wins in the sectional. He actually got credit for all 3 wins in those, coming in relief in a game that we weren't prepared for him to pitch in.
So you won 3 against Bluefield.
He won against Westside. He came in relief against Westside, and when we tied,
that was the extra inning game with the controversy, right?
Yep. When we tied it up, he come to me and he was like, we were basically on the same page without ever having to say it's you. He was ready to go. He knew it was his time, and we had a couple of those moments throughout the season.
Well, he had 10 wins. I mean, I don't know how often that happens in the state.
Yeah, well,
simply because of the bigger schools with guys who could do that probably have more pitchers in their rotation.
Yeah, you go back in 2015, Levi Nash had that. He had the 10 wins, and that was before Michael Rotenberry transferred over, and when
so that would be the school he tied the school.
Yeah, he tied it. Yep, he tied it, and they're actually family members. So Levi married into his cousin's. One of his cousins, and so they're family members. So they have they'll have some beef as far as who has the real one as far as the 10 wins.
I would reckon that 3 sectional wins probably hasn't happened too often in the state.
Yeah, no, I don't think so. I don't think so. And he was, you go back to the turning point for him was the Copter game against Princeton. I think that's when he realized as far as what type of pitcher he could be. He located so well, and off speed started to work for him there, and he realized as far as just pitching, not having to strike people out, even though he had a phenomenal season as far as strikeouts go. But
110, I think.
110, past the 200 on the career, and
watching the COVID time is pretty.
Yeah, pretty phenomenal. Yeah, and so that Princeton win, him just seeing. And the team too. I think that was as far as the team seeing what he could do and what we could do as a group with him on the mound.
Will it be hard to replace him? I know you got a lot of young guys coming but just to have a guy like that who is willing to take the ball. I'm sure that any of your players would take the ball, but to have that kind of leadership that he had and to actually get the job done.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, as far as you're looking at 80 innings, you know, when we come into this season at the beginning of the year.
Yeah, nobody eats up that kind of innings anymore.
You know, we come into this year, and it was Jared Vestal who had, you know, the elbow injury in basketball that we didn't think was going to see any baseball. He ended up pitching some for us at the end of the year, but you know, I went to them and I told them, I was like, this is 60 innings. You know, we lost 60 innings from, you know, a kid that got injured. And then you go to the prior year as far as graduation, losing some players. So we had those 80 to 90 innings as far as pitching goes, and Nathan was a guy that immediately, you know, basketball practice would be happening. He would come get his bullpen in.
Which I guess defines that part of that bulldog mentality.
Yeah, like he, you know, from the get-go, he looked at those innings as far as his. You know, it was going to be, he was going to take care of them, and so moving forward, you know, I think he kind of set the tone as far as being recognized. What happens when you are that pitcher, when you are that bulldog on the mound. You know, the accolades as far as some of the individual accolades that come along with a good team. You know, I told them, you know, we start having some team victories and team trophies, then those individual trophies come as well. And he was all for it.
Your state tournament team, you think he's a first team All-Stater?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. You know, I told him that going into it. You know, I told him that going into it as far as you know, trying to understand that different time, different era. You know, if he was on that team, it would have been guaranteed.
He's a guy who said too that he, in 6th grade, 7th, back when it was coach pitcher T-ball, he hated baseball because he could already hit. He had a hit off the tee, and he could already hit overhand pitching. From where he's gone to, you know, hating baseball to it being a sport, you don't see that too often either.
Yeah, you know, my coaching staff was fortunate enough to go to Nashville for the convention. You know, and there's, you name it. You know, Mike Bianca started it off, the whole presentation, and the national champion at Ole Miss. And when we finished that week of convention training, you know, I looked at my coaches and I said, we took in a lot of great information, and we gathered some, some drills and skills and things here. But I'll measure our team at the end of every year with how many kids fell in love with baseball. How many kids fell in love with it, and I commend my coaching staff for taking Nathan from somebody that
thought he played basketball.
But yeah, and he fell in love with baseball and took off running with it. Kudos to him.
He said that you coming back with that was about the same time. I mean, as a coach, you got to love to hear that from your top player.
Oh, absolutely. Those relationships with all of them mean the world to me, and to hear the feedback, not just from them, but as far as parents too, and the whole experience, knowing that PikeView High School is more than baseball. Our baseball program is more than baseball. We are a family. We are one. We stand together.
Kind of take that approach from Concord. Your days at Concord, then is that kind of Mike Garrett or Kevin Garrett in you?
Yeah, Coach Garrett. Coach Garrett. He put us through it. He put us through it, and but at the end of the day, when you get older, you start to realize those hard days were to make sure we were fighting for one another.
Is Nate one of the guys that got you back on the maybe the ground for where and I mentioned already the state championship appearance? I think you lost to Bridgeport. Everybody lost to Bridgeport in those days, but I mean you gave them everything they wanted for a while in that game, and I mean you were in the state championship. Do you think Nate's class and Nate in particular, just because of his mentality, kind of got back where you're starting to feel that escalator ride back up to the elite status in the state?
Absolutely. He's somebody, and the rest of his graduates, the classmates, that established this as we come to play baseball, we come to play it hard, we come to play it fun and fast, and but we have a great time, and you can see that people are jumping on board with that with our summer program. As far as 3 years ago, we were somebody that was having to borrow kids from other schools and have volunteer coaches coach them because we have kids from different schools, and and now
you got your own program down here in the summer.
Yeah, now we're one, and we're not having to borrow from anywhere or beg somebody to come play.
Well, while I'm talking to you, and this was mostly about Nate Riffe, and he deserves this whole day, how are your younger guys doing in that in the bases loaded? I think it's bases loaded. in that summer program.
Yeah, we have.
I mean, your son's playing in there, right?
He is. I have him, Eli Healing, Nate Vestal. Those are some freshmen that are getting some significant varsity time during this summer. Aiden O'Quinn is another one. It's a big adjustment going from, especially for some of those kids that don't play outside of school ball.
Right.
I'm fortunate enough to have, Eli Healing, Landon Wyatt. Those two play a lot of travel ball, so they've seen some upper level pitching, and then the class below them, as far as 3 to 4 more players that are just baseball
You
players.
think these are the guys that will get you back to Charleston?
Feel very confident in
I mean,
this.
now with the transfer rule, I mean, anything can happen with any of the schools out there, but
Yeah, it's you never know. You never know who's chasing victories. You never know what program is just chasing wins and who's going to end up there. But at the end of the day, you got to coach. And
you got to think that you're back. I mean, Shady Springs is losing quite a bit, including Cam Mans, Bluefield, who you play in the section. They lose some guys. Caleb Fuller gone. Harmon, a big power hitter, gone. I mean, you got to feel like maybe, and of course you lose Nate Riffe too.
Yeah.
Everybody's suffering some significant losses, but you got to feel like this region, maybe for the first time in the last 4 or 5 years, because of Independence and then Shady after that, is kind of open.
Yeah, I feel.
I think it's only been Indy and Shady since you went.
Yeah, absolutely, it has. Like, we were looking at that as far as 3 teams since 2012. It's been the same 3 teams that
PikeView, Bluefield, Indy, and Shady.
Yeah, those three teams have represented. I think Nicholas County, as far as returning people.
I think they might be. They might be the team that.
Yeah.
I should mention them too, because they're going to have a real good team to get their number 1 back.
Yeah.
Maybe, and their best hitter, Chesterton. So maybe they're the team that everybody's going to be chasing. You think?
Absolutely. It's them on paper, but going into it last year, I felt like there were some other teams that were ahead of us in the section, but had their own internal problems, and so I'll stand on the fact that PikeView, we pride ourselves in being a family first, and those are the goals. The individual goals come second, and so I feel confident in our boys heading into the off season to take care of what this program needs to, and feel good about where we'll be standing next May.
Coach, I appreciate the time.
Thank you, Dave.